to make it easy for you, if you remember the constraints, you should remember many of the knowledge areas. So let's try to bring them out. We talked about schedule. So one knowledge area is schedule. We talked about scope. Another knowledge area is scope. We talked about cost or budget. Another knowledge area is cost management. We talked about risk. Another knowledge area is risk management. We talked about resources. Another knowledge area is resource management. We talked about qualities and tech. Another knowledge area is quality management. We talked about customer satisfaction. All right, so we'll place it with stakeholder management. Okay, that's another knowledge area. How many do you have? 10 of them. How many do you have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what it means is if you can remember the 7 constraints, you should be able to remember 7 knowledge areas. You are left with 3 of them. I'll bring you another knowledge area. Have you thought about, let's look at the party want to throw for our father. You need to, even though you are thinking about time, schedule, how much work you do, what you do, cost, how much it will cost, what could go on risk, the resources that you need. Do you need a machine? Do you need materials? Quality. You define the quality, the requirement, stakeholder engagement. Who are the stakeholders? How do we engage them? But remember, you have to communicate. You build a team, so the team will be communicating. The project manager has to communicate with the stakeholders. So what happens? We need communication management. How do we communicate on the project? How are we going to manage communications? How are we going to control communications? You may want to have meetings on WhatsApp every Tuesday. That is part of communications. How do you manage it? The meetings, some people may have to be informed before. We need to come up with minutes, actionable items. That's part of communications. So how do you manage it? So communications management is part of it. Next one is we may look at procurement, isn't it? That's missing. We need to buy things. You need a cake. You need to buy. You need some canopies. People will come. So when they come, they say at the garden, we need the canopy. It might be raining. It might be too hot. So we put them under a canopy. We need chairs. Where do we get these ones? We don't have many. So we need to procure. We need to buy. So procurement, the food, we may need a caterer, procurement. So we need to think about this. That's a knowledge area, procurement. Then we need to think about how to piece everything together. That's integration. How do we put everything together to make sure every part is held properly? So that's integration management. The plans that we have, we need to put all of them together as a mother plan called the project management plan. We need an artifact that could help us understand the project from start to finish. That's the project charter. So you think about how we could raise documents to piece everything together into a cohesive whole. That's integration management. That will give you 10 knowledge areas, okay? 10 knowledge areas. You don't need to memorize this, okay? If you remember the 7 and understand how projects are run, you should be good to go. Great. Now, the task here is to understand the processes under every knowledge area and the processes under process groups. So you see the process groups are here. Initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, closing. Now, this is how it's been arranged. If you could track it from the knowledge area point of view. So if I pick it from the knowledge area angle, these are the processes under the knowledge area. Now, we don't expect you to memorize these ones. Back in the day, when I wrote my PMP exam, we had to memorize this. Now, the good news is you don't need to memorize it again now. You need to understand it. Okay, if you understand, that's good. But we had to memorize it, know the tools and techniques, what goes in, what comes out, input, output. But now they moved away from that. It's not a process-based approach, it's principle-based approach now. So I'll explain it. Understanding will be good for you. So I want you to understand it. If you pick integration management, there are some processes that we go through to make sure there's this uniformity and there's this coordination. One process is a charter, developing a project charter. And remember, it happens at the early part of the project, so initiation. So it becomes part of the initiation process group. Okay. So at the early part of the project, what do? We need to develop a project charter. It's part of integration management. So integration management, what do? We develop the project charter. Now, the project charter is an important artifact. Remember, I said the artifacts are the things we create. So what do you create? The documents, the plans, the product, deliverables. These are artifacts. One artifact is a project charter, and we create it at the early part of the project, initiation part of the project. Now, this project artifact called the charter is what is helping us understand the project from start to finish. So when I get into that document, it gives me understanding of the project high level. For example, I talked about a report from your boss. Your boss will try to explain what he needs from you high level, the type of report you have to do, who we are sending the report to, will give you high level information. This is like the charter being given to you. If you are lucky, you could have this one in a document. You could put this on an A4 sheet for you. That becomes a charter, small at that small scale level for you. If it's a big project, we would take our time and capture a detailed project charter. So talk about why we are doing the project. So justifications, objectives of the project, what could be the success criteria of the project, what could be used to measure project success, what could be the initial requirements, what are the initial requirements. All these ones will be in the chart. How much are we looking at? Don't forget this, you can't bank your hopes on this because it's high level. So we think about how much will this one cost. For example, if you want to buy a bus, what will come to you readily? How much is the bus? So high level. So you might want to talk to somebody. You pick a phone and speak to somebody. I want to buy a bus, but what do you think? I think you bought a bus 2 years ago. How much was it? High level. It doesn't mean when you buy your bus, it will be that same price. But you want to have understanding. What is the range? How much does it take? How much time does it take to get it? If you order, how much time does it take to get it? High level. What are the major features? You get high level. What could go wrong if we buy a bus? So you could speak to somebody, an expert, to give you some ideas. What happens if I want to buy a bus, and use it for commercial purposes? But what could be the risk? And one risk that will come to your mind readily is accident, isn't it? So the things that comes to you readily at that time, you put them in a charter, but there's a checklist you use. Okay, there's a checklist for developing a proper charter. These days, in the age of AI, these things you don't need to struggle that much. If you want to develop a charter, you could ask AI to give you a guideline. But remember, you are smarter than AI. So what AI gives you might not be final. You need to still look at it and make sure it suits what you want to do. All right. Great. So that is a charter. Another thing you need to, I hope you are making notes. Another thing you need to know about, lots of questions come from this area. Another thing you need to know about the charter is this. It gives the project manager authority. It gives you mandate. It gives you the power to go ahead with the project. So you'll be asked that question, you are likely to see that question in the PMP exam. Without the project charter, the project manager does not have mandate. He can't go ahead with the project. I know there are a lot of projects without project charters. So that will give you the authorization for high performing organizations, for big projects. You will see, not likely, you see a charter authorizing the project, stating the project manager, stating the sponsors, stating the stakeholders, stating the major deliverables, initial requirements involved in the project. It gives you high level understanding of the project. So when this is handed to you, and write this one down, the project manager doesn't write the charter. PMIism. The project manager doesn't write the charter. Somebody above him writes the charter. So who can write the charter? Who is above the project manager? There could be a senior executive in the organization. They can write the charter. The sponsor is above the project manager. He can write the charter. So we call these people project initiators. They will write the charter and hand it to the project manager. But I've seen projects where the project charter was given to the project manager to write. But in real life or in proper practice, that should not be the case, because we assume that there's a sponsor who understands what they want to do. They put together a high-level document called the charter, and they give it to somebody to handle that endeavor, and that's the project manager. So they sign it and give it to the project manager to give him authority. Now you have go ahead. This is how much we are giving you. Funds are ready, are available. You could go ahead with the project. So it should come from somebody above them. Well, how can you give yourself authority? So if the project manager writes it and signs it, it means he has given himself authority. It doesn't work like that. Somebody above him gives him authority. So even when they ask the project manager to help in writing, putting together the charter, he can't sign it. Once it's done, somebody above him will go through, check it off, and sign it off and give it to the project manager, and that gives him authority. So it's one way of authorizing a project charter. In the UK, we use a document called the PID, project initiation document, to authorize a project. Okay, to authorize a project. But we also use a charter, PMP, PMI. We use the charter to authorize a project. Okay. All right, great. So that is something you need to know about the charter. There are questions on the charter. That's how come I took time to talk about it. What does it do? It gives you high-level understanding of the project. What does it do? It gives the project manager mandate. It's used to authorize a project. Is written by somebody above the project manager. So it could be a senior executive. It's not written by the project manager. We know the key components in there. These are some of the things that we need to know. It authorizes the work for you. So it gives you mandate to apply resources to your project activities. It gives you mandate to go ahead with the project. Yes. And what is the first thing that he should do? One of them is basically getting the charter. For you to understand or get understanding of the work, you take the charter. And in some organizations, the charter would be written by the sponsor or somebody above the project manager, even without the involvement of the project manager. So when you walk in, the charter is fait accompli, it's done. So they hand the charter to you, and you will take your time to go through to understand exactly what you have to do. High level, it's not detailed. They are telling you the project summary budget is about $1 million. But it's your job to take your time and break the work down to check whether the 1 million stated in the charter would be enough for the project. And that takes you to planning. So you take your time and plan your cost. well. They are telling you in the charter, summary, duration, high level, we want to use 4 years to do this job. Stated in there, it's your job to take your time to go through the activities to check whether the duration stated in the charter will be enough. If not, you go back to them. You go back to them. So you will be doing the detailed work, but they will give you a high level information, and that is the charter. Are we good, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So we know what it does, and I've basically pointed out areas you are likely to have questions on so far as the charter, project charter is concerned. So please, let's take note. I hope you jotted these ones down. Once we have the charter, we go to planning. We develop a high level. So at the integration level, we need a bigger. So integration, what you observe here is every process here touches every part of the project. So if I have this develop project charter, it's looking at the key parts of the project. We talked about budget, we talked about scope, initial requirement, we talked about the risk, stakeholders. It's looking at every part of the budget. Now, if I go to another process under integration management, under planning process group, we need a plan, a mother plan. We said integration is where we put everything together. So we need a mother plan that will hold all the plans that we generate. Remember, the plans are artifact. So it's our task, once we understand the charter, to create subsidiary management plans. When it comes to scope management, we need to have a plan. When it comes to risk management, we need to have a plan. When it comes to schedule, we need to have a plan to give us the approach. So schedule management, how do we go about it? Communications management, how are we going about it? We need to have a plan to tell us exactly what we do. Now, when we have all these plans, don't forget, even in changes, we need to have a plan called a change management plan, or call it a change control plan. You need to have a plan that will tell us how change control should be done. How do we administer changes? What is the process? How do we go about it? How do we set up the CCB? Who should be part of the CCB? How do they make decisions? All these ones will be stated in the change control plan or change management plan. So when we have all these plans created, we will put them into together to have one plan called the project management plan, PMP. All right. And even the project management plan holds other information. It will even talk about the life cycle, project life cycle. We'll talk about the life of the project, how it will dance through the whole journey. So what are the key stages in there? That's the life cycle of the project. Okay. What could be the key stages, key points in the project? It will dictate the life cycle of the project. That is also stated in the project management plan. And also talk about the development approach. How are we going to develop our deliverables? What approach are we going to use? Is it predictive? Is it iterative? Are we going to do it incrementally? We'll talk about this one more. All these ones will be stated in the plan. And we also have the baselines. So when we go through scope, we need to baseline it. So we know exactly what we are doing. This is what we are doing, and this is what that we're not doing. You need to state it clearly. So we need to have a baseline, scope baseline, to tell us what we are doing and what we are not doing. Inclusions and exclusions. So the party, this is not included. The party, we are not inviting old school friends stated in there, because you're likely to invite, when you're having a party for your dad, you're likely to invite your dad's old school or old friends. But it's stated in there, this is something that we are not doing. So it should be part of your scope baseline so that you know exactly what you are doing and what you are not doing. Okay. So the baseline, when it comes to the cost, what is the baseline? This is how much you are spending, the baseline. When it comes to schedule, what is the baseline? So all these ones are stated in the project management plan. Then we go to the next thing on the execution. This is where we do the work. So we look at a process called the direct and manage project work. This is where all the work is done. Okay, so take note. You could have a question on that. What process will capture where all the work is done, or capture what how the work all the work is done? Okay, is the direct and manage project work. This is where all the work is done. So all the work that we stated in the activities, everything we have to perform will be done here. Direct and manage project work. So it's talking about all the work. Remember, I said every process under integration management seeks to touch every part of the project. So direct and manage project work is touching every part of the project. Okay, it's showing us the work that we have to do, all the work. Now we come to manage project knowledge. This is a newbie. It's something that was added quite recently. Historically, we had 47 processes. Two of them are that one of them is the managed project knowledge. Now we start thinking, what about knowledge in the project? How do we manage it? So with the knowledge, we have explicit knowledge, we have tacit knowledge. Knowledge that can be easily expressed, we call it explicit. So the machines, this I could give you procedure, how it is done. That is explicit knowledge. But they are beliefs, they are skills, experience. So these ones are very difficult to express. How do we still get people to learn these skills? So we find a way to manage knowledge on the project. What about the lessons that we learn? The information that generate, the lessons that we learn on the project, how do we manage them? Stage one, there were lessons. How do we document these ones? How do we make them blessings, not curses? How do we ensure that the lessons that we learn come back to improve, help us improve? We made a mistake in stage one. We don't want to repeat those mistakes. So we want to document it and review it and see how we could use the lessons that we learned to improve in our subsequent processes. It's handled here. So we raise a document called Lessons Learned Register. Okay, Lessons Learned Register will be raised here to help us manage our lessons and use them to improve. Then we get to monitoring. This is where all the monitoring is done. So the project manager will do all the monitoring here. But don't forget, they are monitoring and controlling happening in other specific knowledge areas. But all of them put together will be done here. Monitor and control project work. So the project manager will look at how everything is happening. So you monitor basically everything. Okay, whatever was stated in the plan, you check how it's being done and check how they are tracking to the plan. If there are changes, you check whether these changes are effective and they are relevant and they have been done, they have been documented. You check all these ones, it will be done here. Okay, and you work together with the perform integrated change control where you focus more on changes. Remember, I talked about the CCB. If it's one person, there's one person who manages changes. You can't do or effect a change without, yes, Cobbler, let me learn quickly, then you come in. You can't effect a change without going through the change coordinator or the CCB. And we use the perform integrated change control. It's done at the integration level. Why? Because it's touching every part of the project. Every change in the project will be done here, will be controlled here. Then we close the project. If it's being rolled out in phases, we will close every phase. There are some projects rolled out in phase one, phase two, phase three. Okay, especially if it's that big. So once phase one is done, we close it and learn our lessons. Then we do a review and check whether it is still viable. Does it still make sense to carry on with the project? If it does, we carry on. If it doesn't make sense, we could kill the project. All right. So we manage these ones as we go. And when the entire project is done, we close it. So it is done here. And how we close a project, we need to understand it doesn't mean finish the last deliverable and walk away. You need to basically update all your records. So the party is done. We wouldn't say the last activity is done. So the party closed. We need to take our time and learn our lessons. If you were to have another party next year, what can we do to improve? How do we improve? What can we do better? We need to know this. What went wrong? If we were to handle another similar project next year, how much are we looking at? Now we've done it, so we have an idea of how much it will cost. So we update all our records nicely. Lessons learned, we prepare a small handing over report, we disband the team, we check whether the objectives were achieved. You review all these ones, you learn your lessons, and you close it properly. And you add your information, whatever you gather, the lessons, the documents we raise, we put them in our repositories, in our historical records to help us improve. Whenever we're doing something similar, we could fall on those lessons, those reports, those records to help us do a better job. Okay, so integration is helping us run through the entire project. We'll take a break. Management plan is giving us a methodology. So now we know how to collect requirements. So input will be the scope management plan from this process. It will show us how to collect requirements, the needs and expectations of the stakeholders. We'll take our time and collect all these ones. Once it's done, we'll have an output. What will be the output? We'll have requirements documentation. So I said the input, that's something the 6th edition does. The 6th edition is more about processes. We'll give you all the, so sometime when you have the time, I think I need to give you a copy of the 6th edition as well. You may have to go through that as well, especially for the input. So the input will be one of them will be the scope management plan for this process, collect requirement, okay? We need a scope management plan. How do we go about it? That's two and techniques. We could use interviews. We interview people. We could do survey. We could use expert judgment data. This data collection techniques, okay? So that's a two and technique. So T and T, tools and techniques. Once we have an input, there'll be what? An output. The output will be, one of them is the requirement documentation. So we have a document listing all the requirements. But don't forget, not every requirement will be done. We may have to trim them down. Everybody will be giving us their requirement. So as we have this, we need to take our time and trim it down and know the key requirements. So once we understand the requirements that we need, we will now go ahead and define the scope. I know what they need, so I can now determine what has to be done to achieve what they need. So I will now define the box, the scope, to know how much work that we have to do. If I don't know the requirement, I wouldn't be able to define the scope. So input to the process, define scope will be what? Requirements documentation. I need a requirement to know exactly what is needed, what is expected, to be able to define how much work is involved. So define the scope, okay? Once I define the scope, I could tell what is in the box and what is outside the box. So what we have as a document is called a project scope statement, PSS. So we can now write a statement for the project. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Inclusions, exclusions. It's called project scope statement. We can make a bold statement about what we are doing and what we are not doing. Why? Because we understand what is needed and what is expected. Once we know this, define the scope is big, we can now go ahead and break the work down. For example, the party, we know what we are doing, what we are not doing. We know exactly the scope of work that we have to do, but everything we talk about might be big. We are saying we'll have refreshment, we'll have music, we will have cake cutting, we will have decorations, because we know the requirements, we understand the work. Now we need to break it down. If you talk about refreshment, what are we saying? What is refreshment? What are we bringing? What are we doing? What are we giving to the people? We break it down. If you talk about decoration, what type of decoration that we want, we break it down. That is called work breakdown structure. Okay, so we break the work down so we know the activities. If I say decoration, I could tell exactly what I have to do to get it. Decoration, the type of flowers that I need and all that, break it down so I know the various activities I follow to achieve that higher level task. That is called work breakdown structure. We'll do more details about it. Like I said, everything I'm talking about here, don't worry. This is what we'll be talking about in the entire 8 weeks. We'll be throwing more light on them. I'm just helping you to understand the process that will be involved. Then we'll validate scope is under monitoring. Okay, validate scope is more about seeking for formal acceptance of your work. So it's common sense to, at some point, seek for approval, get formal acceptance of the things you churn out. You don't need to wait till the whole project is done before you seek for acceptance of your work. So once you move in stages, at every stage, whatever is delivered, called deliverable, should be validated. Validation means seeking for formal acceptance, should be accepted, should be checked and accepted. That's validation. So the customer comes in, or you may have to carry it if you can, if it's possible, to the customer. He checks what you've done so far. He accepted. This is good. It's in line with what I want you to do. If not, he will give you feedback. This is good, but then you work on the but. All right, then go and work on it, then you give it back till he says it's okay, then you carry on to the next stage. That is called validation. So you validate scope. You are checking whether what you are doing is what you are supposed to do. Let me say this again. You are checking whether what you are doing is what you are supposed to do. So you check it with the customer. Look at what I've done. Is it what you want? This is what you gave me. This is what I've done. Is it what you want? Then they will give you feedback. All right. The next one is control scope. As you are defining the scope, you know exactly what you have done doing the work. You need to make sure you do exactly what you're supposed to do. It says do A, B, C, D. You are doing A, B, C, D. So we are always checking whether the team is doing A, B, C, D only. Now, a person thinks we could do F. Where did that F come from? Was it something from the customer? Probably was from the customer. Customer says, now I want you to add F. So this is a change. What happens? It goes to the CCB. Customer is asking for F to be done. Now CCB will check, is it something that we can do? Then we check, is it going to delay work? Is it going to add more time? Is it going to increase the cost? We do all these assessments before we approve it. Now, once it's been approved, it goes into the scope baseline. So we added, it was A, B, C, D that we have to do. Now F has been added to what we have to do. So we redefine and re-baseline the scope. But we are controlling, we are checking what comes in. We make sure whatever we are doing is what we are supposed to do. It's been approved. Nobody will do something that they are not supposed to do. And once you go through this one, there's a term we use, scope creep. You avoid scope creep. There's a question on that. Any unauthorized or scope creep is unauthorized changes, is not authorized, unauthorized changes to the scope of project work is called scope creep. Creep. Look at the word creep. So you have a scope and something is creeping in. And remember, there's anything, there's a door, but you want to come through the window. You are a thief. There's a door, come through the door, but you are coming through the window. So you are creeping in. If somebody walks through the door, you wouldn't use the term creeping in. But anything that creeps in is bad, not too good. It means they don't have authorization. If you have authorization, you come through the door. If you don't have authorization, you go through the window. So we are looking at things that are coming through the window. It means they don't have any authorization. So your job as a project manager is to stand at the door of the baseline and watch what comes in. Okay, watch what comes in. So you make sure everything that is coming into the project is what you are supposed to do. For example, we are not supposed to call old students of our dad, and we see our sister picking the phone, calling old students, inviting them to the party. Was that stated in the scope? No. So the project manager checks it. This wasn't done. This wasn't stated in there. So you can't do this. Who gave you the approval to do this? But let's assume mom says, yes, now we've made some arrangement. We've made some changes. We want to invite all students to the party. It'd be nice to have that all students coming to the party. So I want to give the go ahead. It's been approved. Project manager is aware. Then project manager will give that instruction. Okay, so go ahead and invite all students. We will now go and redefine the scope and add inviting all students to the scope of work that we have to do. I hope it makes sense. I'm trying to make it quite practical for us to understand it. Then that is added. If not, it will constitute as scope creep. Nobody gave that approval. And remember this, when that happens, it will come with extra cost because it's work. She's picking the phone to call these people. Remember, it's credit. It's not part of your budget. Number two, these people will come. How your food, you've calculated the number of people you feed, extra people. Have you got food for them? Have you got the money to take care of them? No. You get it. So whenever there's a change, other things are changing. So when this one comes in, CCB will check how much cost should be added. Who is paying for this? Is mom ready to add more money to the budget, asking us to call all students? So that is how it works. Okay, so watch out for this term, scope creep. There's a question on that. We'll come talk about it again. That is done at the control scope. Protect the scope. Make sure everything that comes in is what you have to do. There's a proper approval. That is all the work we do under scope management. Now let's go to schedule management. Let's pick up the pace a little bit more because now you are getting the understanding. And again, this is what we'll be talking about in subsequent weeks. So the domains, we'll be looking at this, the processes, the principles, we'll talk about this. They'll be coming in as we go, all right? So if you pay attention here, it'll be good for you. Now, schedule management. What do we do here? Yes, anybody to help me? Schedule management. Should we think about something to be done in cost management here? Are we thinking of something to be done in scope management? What are we thinking about? Yes, I want to see if you are following.
It means the process is required to ensure that the project is completed within the required period.
I like the word period, time, schedule. So our focus here is on the time. So main focus is time. how do we get this project done on time? So how do we manage our time on this project? And we use the term schedule. How do we manage our schedule on this project? There should be, what's the first thing that we do? We said we need to have a guide. What's the guide called? What would be the guide? What would be the name for the guide here?
The plan.
Yes, but be technical. The plan under schedule management, what would be the name of the plan?
Charter.
No, under the schedule management,
Charter.
what would be no under the schedule, under the
So
scope management.
schedule management plan.
Super. So under the scope management, we had the scope management plan. Under the schedule management, you have the schedule management plan. So under the cost management plan, what would be the plan that you have? What would you call it?
Cost management
Cost
plan.
Cost management
plan.
plan. Good. So now you are catching up. You need to always have a plan that will help you manage the knowledge area. So if it's scope management, you need to have a plan that will help you manage scope management. And the plan is called scope management plan. So the first thing you do is to plan it out. So here we need to plan schedule management. So output to be the schedule management plan. Okay, that is going to help us define the activities. So don't forget, we broke the work down. To get the activities that we have to do, or the lowest level called the work package level. There's a question on that. When you break the work down, so the creation, we break it down to the lowest level where you have the smallest task to do. The smallest task, we call them the work packages, okay? But sometimes the smallest task, the lowest level, can be broken down further. So when we get to define activity, we start thinking, can the lowest level still be broken down further? If you think we can't, we still decompose it. The technique you use here is called decomposition. Decomposition, if you look it up, breaking down, you decompose. So we decompose, we break the work down, we keep breaking it down. And if you think the lowest level can be broken down further, we turn them into activities. If not, we use the work packages as the activities. And you perform the activity. We'll talk more about this. So define the activity. Know the actions, specific actions that we have to take. These are the activities. We define them. So the idea is this: if I have a big task and this is A, and I have to do A1, do A2, do A3 to achieve A, this is your lowest level. Okay, so these are things you do. If I do A1, A2, A3, I've done A. Okay, so I don't do A, I do the lowest level. That's the idea. So you go down to the lowest level and you perform the work from the lowest level. And as you perform the lowest level activities or the lowest level activities, you are achieving progress as you come up, as you come up. So we need to look for the lowest level activities. We need to look for the specific actions that we have to do. If I say foundation, you don't do foundation. You break it down to know the little things you do. If I say chapter one, you are working on chapter one, you don't do chapter one. There are things you do, there are various topics under chapter one. If you could build those topics under chapter one, you have chapter one. And even when you pick a topic, there are subtopics. So you have chapter one as C. If you break it down, we have topic A, topic B. If you break this one down, topic A, we have subtopic A1, subtopic A2. If you go to this, we have subtopic B1, subtopic B2. How do you
Hey,
do
please,
this?
your line is breaking.
Hello, can you hear me? Is it clear now? It's still breaking. Hello?
Yeah, so it's clear. Sir, we can hear you. I think the problem is coming from her side.
Okay. All right. Please check your network and see if the problem is coming from your end. All right. So if you want to finish the book, we do the subtopics. If you do subtopic A1, A2, you achieve topic A. If you do subtopic B1, B2, you achieve topic B. And once you have topic A and B, you have the chapter. You get it? So you do the lowest level. You don't do this chapter. You do these ones to achieve them. That is what we term as work breakdown structure. Okay? Work breakdown structure. And it will define the scope for you. And we'll create the scope baseline for you. Great. All right. I'll come to you, Desmond, pretty shortly. So we define the scope, define the activities here. This is what we do. Once we have the various activities, we need to know the pattern. For the party, what do we do first? What do we do next? Do we order the cake before ordering the chairs? Or do we have the chairs, canopies before the cake? We need to have a logical working sequence. So that is what we do here, sequence the activities. Which one comes first, followed by what? Can we order the cake together with the tables, the chairs? Can they go concurrently at the same time? We check all these ones. So we have a logical working sequence in there. Once that is done, we can estimate the duration of each activity. Ordering the chair, what's the duration? It will take 2 days. Cake 4 days, arranging the chairs 7 days. So estimate activity durations. Then you can develop a schedule. So the schedule will hold all this information. If you have a schedule, you have the activities in there. You have how the activities have been scheduled. I'll show you an example as we go. MS Project, one of the software you could use is MS Project. Okay, now we are in AI age and digital age. So I expect you to now understand how to use technology to run things. Okay, so you need a software to help you do some of these things to make life easy for you. So PMIS will help you. Project Management Information System could help you make life easy for you. So you develop a schedule. Okay, you have a schedule. So the schedule, you all have prepared a schedule before. This is my schedule for the day. So on your schedule, you have the list of all the activities you have to do. That's what you do, but you need to add more. You have the time. I know your schedule will have the time, but your schedule should also list who will be performing what. So on the schedule, you have the various resources. I need Kofi to do this. I need Amma to place the call to the caterers. I need Charles and Amwa to arrange the chairs. So arranging chairs as an activity, who do you need? What do you need? You look at these ones as resources. How much would that cost? Will all be there, and that will be your schedule. And once you have a schedule, you need to control it. So make sure your schedule can be achieved. So you control your schedule, the timelines, you're looking at all these ones nicely, making sure you don't exceed the timelines. That is your schedule. So as we are talking, I'm also managing my schedule because I know what I have to do and the time when we have to go for break, when we need to finish. I'm managing it to see whether we will be able to finish. All right. So you're managing your schedule. You control your schedule as we go. You protect it and making sure you keep to the timelines. So we use other techniques. We'll talk about it. Sometimes you might be running late, and you know if you don't take action, the project will be dragged out. You delay the project. So what do? You may have to run some of the activities at the same time. Initially wanted to place the cake before bringing in the canopy guys. Now we don't have much time. We are running late. So the two could go together. We check. Is it possible the two go together? CCB says, yes, it's possible. It won't have any risk, any repercussion. So just place the order for both. The money will be available. So just do that to save more time. As we're arranging the chairs, we're also fixing the sounding system. There was a sound system. You run them at the same time to squeeze some time. You are controlling your schedule. All right, so we'll talk more about this. There are some techniques you use to do this. Then we go to cost. Yeah, Desmond, your question now. Desmond, your question? Okay, if you are good, let's carry on. Now we go to cost management. Let me come to you. So cost management, what is the first document that we need to raise under cost management? Yes, quick. To help us have a guide, a methodology, an approach to help us know how cost management will be managed and controlled. What document should we raise? What artifact should we raise?
Cost management plan.
Cost
Super,
management plan.
super. So we need a cost, and where would the cost management plan go? Once it's created, which document should you push it in?
Project
The
management plan.
budget.
It goes to your project management what?
Plan.
Plan. Good.
Plan.
Yeah, so the cost management plan is helping you know how to build your budget. But once that plan
budget.
is done, you will take it to the project management plan because it's part of the project management plan. Good, you guys are following. So once we have the cost management plan through the process called plan cost management, we can estimate the cost. Okay, so what do you think we need? We need a schedule. Okay, the schedule has got the activities, the resources, and the time and everything. So I know what I have to do, the duration, I know what I need. So it'll be easy for me to estimate the cost. True or false?
True.
Yes, so I need that as an input. I'll take it and use that to estimate the cost for each activity. Once I estimate the cost for each activity, I will put them together. So the process is called determine budget. I'll put all of them together. So let's say A, B, C, D. A is 40 cedis, B is 60, C is 70, D is 20. Put all of them together, add my contingency reserve, okay, A, B, 10 cedis, then get my total budget. This is 100, 170, 190 plus 10, 200. So get my budget, 200. I'll show you how we determine proper budget. Okay, this is just a high level thing. We'll throw more light on that. Once I have the budget, we need to control the budget, control the cost. So we check what are we doing. We make sure we don't exceed it. We check changes coming in, and we also managing the budget. We check. We use some methods, tools, and techniques. At some point, we check whether what we are doing will be how much we have in the budget could take care of how much work is left. We do that. We check our performance and know where we sit. Are we overspending? Are we underspending? We don't need to wait till the project is done before we know. So you should be able to tell whether the money given to you for the party will be enough based on what is going on. There were some things we were not supposed to order. You brought them in. That is why if you don't protect your scope, your budget is likely to go up. You are bringing other things in that were not authorized. So we did not budget for them. So the project manager should be checking all these ones. This wasn't authorized. You can't do this. If you don't do this, you have a problem with your budget. That's what control cost is all about. Now we move to quality. We know the first thing to do is to have an artifact that could guide us. The quality management what? Plan. So you have the quality management plan. When it's done, it goes to the project management plan. This will show us how everything will be done, how we're going to manage our quality. So the processes, the procedures, how we're going to manage this. We used to call this one perform quality assurance. Okay, that was the name that we gave to this. Now it's called manage quality. So we check all the process, the procedures, are they effective? Then we control quality where we look at the product. Okay, so what we are doing, the product, the cake that we have and all that, we check quality. Is it good? Is it what we wanted? We verify these ones. So control quality is about verification. It works with this. something called validate scope. We talked about it. Validate scope is about validation. You could have questions on that. Validation and verification. Which one should come first? Verification is about inspecting your product. Okay, what you do, the things you do, you inspect them to see whether it's in line with what the customer wants. Validation is about the customer checking what you have done and giving you formal acceptance. But which one should come first? Should you verify before you validate, or you validate before you verify? You verify before
You
you
verify
validate.
before you validate.
Verify before you validate.
That's it. Now you see, project is common sense. We shouldn't struggle. And there will be questions on this. What do you do next? Verification should come first. So we verify, which is internal. Validation is external. So you have done the work. You've done the arrangement. The cake is in. You need to verify whether it's in line with what you wanted before your mom comes in to validate, if your mom is the customer. So she told you exactly what you have to do. So what you do, you check them against your specification, internal. And I do that a lot on my site. I get them to verify the work before we get it validated. So everything we do, we put a stamp on it. And I've told my supervisors, if you stamp it, if you stamp the pallet, we do pallet, wooden pallet. We manufacture wooden pallet. If you stamp it, it means it has been verified. If we take it and there are issues, you will pay. So we need to verify. They stamp it. Before that, they take a picture of what they've done. Because sometimes we are not at the site. So the supervisor will take a picture of what we have done. If you look at it, then we know it's okay. We say, now you can verify them. We put a stamp on it. If they are correct, sometimes you spot some minor defects, you correct them, you repair these defects. So there's something called defect repairs, corrective action. We'll talk about it. You repair the defect. Maybe there are some splits, there are some damages somewhere. We repair these ones before we send them out to the customer. When we send them out, the customer will also validate. But the thing is this: if you could do a good job with verification, chances are that the job will be validated, isn't it? It will be accepted. So verification makes validation easy. Does it make sense? Okay. Now let's look at your resources. What do you do here? You first need a plan, isn't it? So this is helping you manage all your resources. And what are your resources? Mention some of them. One major resource is your money, isn't it? Where have we captured money? Now, we know money is the lifeblood of the project. It's something we need to pay much attention to. So it needs its own standalone knowledge area. Where did we take it to?
Cost management.
Cost management,
Cost
great.
management.
Yeah, so apart from your money, taking out of your resources, the others will be managed here. So you're looking at your machines, you'll be looking at your materials, and we also say there's people. I think people very, very important. It's about time they separated it. That's for my money. People, like the way they took our cost as something very, very important. Money, people, very, very important as well, should also have a standalone knowledge area. Maybe you could call it people management or human resource management. But all the other resources are managed here. So your manpower, your people, your machines, your materials, infrastructure, all these ones are managed here. We first would need a resource management plan. So the resource management plan, wise people will separate them into two. So there are two types of resources, okay? Even though I say the 4 M's, two types of resources. We have the physical resources, and we have the team resource. In my project management book, is not out yet. I have metaphysical and physical. Okay, so there are physical resources and metaphysical. But for the purpose of exams, use the physical and team. So the team is the manpower. Physical is the other resource apart from money. So the materials, the machines, infrastructure, supplies, all these ones will be physical resources. So in the plan, you need to state how you manage your physical resource. You also need to state how you manage your human resource, your team resources. Okay, so we have the plan. It will show us how this is done. It will give us a direction as to how to estimate the activity resources. How many do we need? This activity, we need a mason, but how many masons do we need? This activity, we need a concrete mixer, but how many concrete mixers do we need? This activity, we need a printing machine, but how many printing machines do we need? So estimate activity resources, acquire the resources. So we know these are the resources that we need. We know the number, okay? So identify the resource, know the number. That's what the estimate activity resource is about. Once we know this, the next thing to do is to acquire a resource. We need to get them. So where do we get them from? The resource management plan will show the direction. So we need to acquire them. All right. If it's physical, you know tools and techniques to use. Procurement. So this physical will be linked to procurement. Some of them we need to procure them. Some of them we may get them internally because we have them. Procurement is things you do, resource that you procure outside the organization. You don't have them. But the things you have in the organization, you don't use procurement. So let's check. Do you have them? Do you have these machines? No. So we need to get them from outside. We use procurement. So acquire the resources. Then we come to the team resources. What do? We don't control, and we don't control people, but we control resources. But for people, remember I talked about people constituting 42% of the exams questions. So you need to look more into developing your team and managing them. Your job here as a project manager is to develop the team, build their competencies. That's a sign of leadership. You add value. Law of addition. You add value to people. So you develop the team, you bring them in and you develop them. And there will be issues as you put them together. We talk about the stages you go through when you put people together. Storming, forming, storming, norming, performing a journey. We'll talk about these ones. It's one of the models that we will talk about. So as you put people together, there'll be issues, conflict. So you need to manage the people. You have issues, conflict, and all that. We do all that here. Then for the physical resources, we control them. So your physical resource material, some of them are running out. You need to replenish them. You need to get more. You need to check some of them are not being used properly. Some of them being mismanaged. So you check all these ones. So your store, you check out how many do you have in there. Some are being run out. Some are stealing, are being being stolen. How do we go about all these? We're managing them. We take some of them out. Do you know the number that you have in there? You don't know. You don't even know when to put in the next order. You need to check all these ones. That is what control resource is about. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you do. This is common sense. If I put some resources in your care and say that if you can manage this one properly for me, there'll be a reward. I'm telling you, all the things I teach you here will come, and even more things will come to your head. It's what you do. It's common sense. And that's what we do here. Then we go to communications. We need to understand how communications will be done. So we plan communications management. That's the first thing we do, to have a methodology and an approach to guide us. Once this is done, we know how to manage our communications. Now we perform. We say we have to have meetings. So we have our meetings. We say we have to send reports to customers every month. We send those reports. That's managing communication, doing what is stated in the communications management plan. Then we will monitor our communications. We said reports should be sent every month. Do we send reports every month? People do what is inspected, not what is expected of them. So yes, people know they have to send reports every month. People know they have to come for meetings end of every week. But if somebody is not checking who reported, who did not report, who sent the report, who didn't send the report. And again, reports could be sent, but what is efficiency of those reports? Are the customers satisfied with the report? Does it have the hold? Does it hold the right information? We check all these ones, monitoring your communication, effectiveness and efficiency of your communication. That will be done here. Now we go to risk. What could go wrong? What could be the opportunity? We first will build a plan. So we have a plan to basically direct us. Now, what could be the input to guide us when we identify the risk? I want to see if somebody could remember. We want to identify. So once we have the plan shows how all of these ones will be done, identifying and doing all that. So it gives us the direction. But when we are identifying the risk, what could be some of the input? One key input. There was a document I talked about when we were thinking about getting the bus. The risk was identified high level and was put in some document. What is the name of that document? So if you go into that document, we'll have an idea of some of the high level risks, and that will help us identify some of the risk. We want to buy a bus. We saw the risk, accident. It went into a document. At the initiation stage, what is the name of that document?
Project charter.
Super. You guys are following. So one key input to be the PC, the project charter here. It will help us know some of the risks. Then we will look through other documents. We will talk to other people, other stakeholders to help us identify the risk. What do you think will be the output when the risk is identified? What artifact do you create to capture all the risk? It will be called what? The risk?
Risk management.
No, the risk management plan is
Risk
showing
register.
you how. Yes,
Register.
so the risk register will hold all the risk identified. Okay, so all the risks identified will go into the risk register. Okay, and it won't just hold the risk, it will also give more information about it. As we perform the other processes, we'll be adding more information about it. So it will start as list of the activities. Then we go to this one. We have identified the risk, one of them being rain, A. Now we need to understand the risk. Okay, so in my book, I talk about identify, understand. Whatever you identify, you need to understand. I think you need to also, I don't know how many of you have checked out my profile, my channel on YouTube. Go that for. I talked about this. I did a master class with Joy FM, and we were talking about project management principles. I use my principles. I've got 5 major principles. I use them to explain this, make life easy. And there was a quote. I said, whatever you identify, understand. So once something is identified, you need to understand it. So you identify the risk. Light out for the project. For the party, one risk is light out. There could be light, even though you don't have light out in the UK, in the US, but Ghana, light out. It's a major risk that will be identified. So we identify light out. We need to understand it. When can this one come? Maybe there's been an announcement. If not, what is the trend? Usually during the day, they are not likely to turn off the light. Could happen during the evening. So we look at the chances. So we need to understand it. So we perform qualitative risk analysis to help us understand it. So we analyze the risk, basically. So light out, we analyze it. When can it come in? When it happens, when there's light out, what could be the impact on the party? The guy knows when there's no light, the fund will be taken away. So impact will be very huge. So what do? You need to respond, okay? So you understand it through qualitative risk analysis and quantitative risk analysis. The question is, what is the difference? Qualitative is understanding it qualitatively. It means, yeah, there could be light out. Yes, when it happens, impact will be high. Chances, it's highly likely it will happen. That's qualitative. But quantitative, hard figures. What could be the impact? Hey, when it happens, we could lose. I know some people will come to the party and give gifts. When there's lights out, people could leave. So, gift we might not have. We may lose about $2,000 or pounds. So quantitatively, what's the percentage? 90% chance. What's the chances, probability? 90% chance of happening. That's quantitative. When you do this, we can calculate it and know the expected monetary value. We'll look at that one later to basically understand the risk. But some project you may not need to go ahead and do the quantitative risk analysis. Once you do qualitative, you might be good. All right. Once we understand the risk, what do? We can respond to it. If you don't understand, you can't respond. So once there's understanding, we can respond to the risk. You understand the light out risk, the blackout risk. Once you understand it, you respond to that, whether you accept it or you mitigate it. So what would you do? Maybe get a generator, or we accept the risk. Chances are low. Normally what you do is when the chances are low, chance of happening, probably impact is low, you could accept it. Chance of light out in the UK are very low, so no need for the generator. Impact very low because maybe you have solar in place, so when it even goes out, there's no problem. So accept it. But if it's highly likely, you need to have a maximum response. So you do something about it. So you do maximum, you do minimum, you do nothing. If it's high, you do maximum. You do something. You need to do something. So once there's a plan, response plan in place, we implement the risk responses when they happen. So when there's lights out, we implement the risk responses. Then we monitor the risk. We monitor. Some of them were stated. Did they happen? Some of them happened. What happened? Were they effective? Were they able to cushion the risk? We monitor. If not, we learn our lessons and we improve and we keep going. Now we go to procurement, quite straightforward. We have a plan, then we'll conduct the procurement. So once we have a plan to direct what we have to purchase, we need to know how to go about it. We use conduct procurement. Conduct procurement, what do? You need to take quotations from various suppliers. Caterers, you have 3 of them. So you need to take quotation. This guy says, I'll charge £5,000. This guy says £2,000, 7,000. So we need to check £2,000. Do you think they can do the job? We check their reviews on Instagram, whatever, their social media handles, or talk to other people, go to their website, check their level of experience. So we need to understand these ones and manage and conduct a procurement. So what you do here more is about the bid evaluation. Okay, you do your bid evaluation and we'll unpack that as we go. We evaluate their quotations in order to select the responsible vendor to do the work for us. So we have different vendors. We go through the conduct procurement to select vendors for the party. Now we control the procurement. So they are done with the job, we need to pay them. Some of them are doing the job, we need to follow up. So we follow up, we call them, we want to make sure the cake, the decorations, they happen on time. So we do follow-ups. That's control procurement. So we follow up when they are done. We also pay them. When there are issues, we talk about it. Claims administration, we do all that here. Control procurement. Then the last one is the stakeholder. Your stakeholders. Stakeholders, think about them at the early part of the project. I hope you jotted that one down. Stakeholders, you think about them at the early part of the project. And my book, I also want to add this. Risk, you think about it at the early part of the project. So in my book, I'll push risk at the initiation stage as well, because it's very, very important. So at the early part, I want to basically think about risk more, not just in the project charter. I want to look at risk more right from the beginning. So identify your stakeholders. You look at it at the early part of the project phase or the project life cycle. You want to know who could play a part in there. So you have your stakeholders. who could be affected, who could affect the project. You need to know them at the early part. Once you know them, you plan your engagement. How do you engage them? So you create a plan to show how these ones will be done. You have various stakeholders, the caterers, the canopy sellers or vendors. You have all these ones. So how do you engage them? So you roll out a plan. But we'll talk more about this. And we need to understand them. Remember, I said whatever you identify, you need to understand. So once you identify your stakeholders, you need to also understand them. Who has got high interest, high power, who is interested more in your project, who has got more power, who can influence what, who can help you in this area. So you need to understand all these ones. And that is a major area. If you want your project to become a success, one of the things you look at more is your stakeholders. You take care of them, you take care of the project. If you don't take care of them, you have issues. So you need to know them early, you need to understand them quick, and you need to create a solid response or solid engagement plan for them. Then you manage them and you monitor to check whether they are being satisfied. This is what you do in project. Is walking us through project from start to finish. You see the party that you need to have for your father. All these ones are coming into play, but we never thought a party could have all these details. But this is what you do on a daily basis. Look at the report that was given to you by your manager. Many of them will come in there, but we never thought preparing this small report could be a major project. Is what you do. Let me say this again. If you can't see project management in what you are doing, then you haven't understood it well enough. Ladies and gentlemen, project management is what you do every blessed day. So all the things that we'll be talking about will revolve around what I talked about. All I need to do is to bring you add some more flesh to what I've already spoken, and maybe look at other dimensions, and you'll be good. So if you capture the idea clearly, the rest will be easy for you. Any questions?